Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L and now let's talk Hajumete no Gal episode 4. Cool. Alright, so episode 4. Man, guys, I think this one was a pretty fun one. I enjoyed this one a lot more. I thought it was really funny. I loved a lot of the visual gags. I loved a lot of the jokes that were going on. I think overall this one was pretty cool. I really like it. And like the trio, the really disturbing trio, the creepy trio, the glasses, the one weird guy, and the lolicon. I think they were pretty good in this episode. Like they made the episode for me this time around. Whether it was glasses guy figuring out who Boa really was and having his shirt that said perv friend, or just them figuring out when he's showing the other two what's going on and that this person is Boa. You know, overall the gags were funny. I really enjoyed it. Anyway, guys, if we were to talk about this episode and talk about where we start and where we end off, we start with the next character in the cast being fleshed out. She's introduced. We find out about her double life. We find out she has a really horrible way of viewing everyone else in the world. Funny, but horrible. And throughout the whole episode, it's pretty much her journey to try and get her dog back. And we end off in a place where Renko's being cool, the villain is defeated, and Junichi is free to go find Yame. Overall, pretty fun stuff going on. It's a pretty engaging episode. Now, like things that pop out, and this is beyond comedy, just talking about how competent the characters were. You know, a lot of characters really stepped up for this. I guess first we can talk about Boa in particular. Her character is pretty funny. It's interesting. It's interesting that she has that streamer persona. It's interesting that all the boys had found out about her, and it was interesting that Glasses was able to figure it out. That said, her line talking about the royal guard and then her describing it, that was funny. But yeah, Boa. So she's entitled. That's clearly her personality trait. She's a very entitled girl. But one thing I did appreciate was that when she saw Junichi as a dog, of all the people, he's the one that still has his face maintained, which might point to, like, you know, this might be a girl who will have feelings for him. And only because he got the distinction of not having like the dog kanji written on his face. He had a distinction of just being recognized as a dog. And it's funny. It's really funny that he got that distinction because he picked up an eraser for her. This girl, her view of the world is ridiculous. And it's actually cool when she comes into the classroom and we're seeing that she's saying, "Oh, thank you for watering the flowers for me, maid. Oh, teacher, thank you." You know, it's like she's... The whole world revolves around her. That's pretty much what it is. The world revolves around her. That's her mentality on all of it. It's interesting that she would go so far just to get back what she thinks is hers. And her overall plan, that being going to the cafe and then getting Junichi and getting him on footage and then bringing him up and giving him the ultimatum, Yame, or she shows Yame the, you know, the recording of them at the coffee shop. It was interesting. And then, you know, mind you, when Junichi was presented with that choice, it was a lose-lose situation. If you're in that situation, then the easiest choice is clearly going to be let Yame see the event, because there might still be a possibility for victory there, right? Because if the choice is ultimately leave behind Yame, or Yame sees that you were at a coffee shop, like, you know, the choice is non-existent. Just let her see that you were at a coffee shop. Nothing bad happened at that point. So, you know, she gives him a choice, but the choice itself doesn't have that much weight. The narrative will say it has weight. We will see the character freak out. But when you look at it and you consider sensibilities, it's not really a choice. That said, Junichi is a compromised mind. He doesn't really... He kind of just goes with the flow. So him being put in a struggle because of that choice, you know, fair enough. Fair enough. I won't really judge him beyond that. Now, in terms of another character that I thought was doing pretty well in this episode, Renko. I really like how competent Renko is. When Renko was saying that she was aware of Boa's possible deceptive nature, she just jumped on that, right? And that makes sense. She's Yame's friend. She wants to protect Yame. She wants to make sure nothing bad happens, that Yame can avoid any heartbreak or any heartache that she possibly can. So Renko was just being a good friend here. I just like how competent she is. I like that she was competent enough to go and find out information from the trio. I like that she was competent enough to jump off of a roof and land and not hurt herself. I really like that part too. And I like that she's just flat out able to just go up to her and just put that girl in her place. That was pretty funny. that was cool. It was cool to see it. It was cool to see her waiting for Junichi to see what he was going to do. And it was cool to see her, at the end of the day, still kind of supporting Junichi and Yame because she is valuing Yame's happiness. Ranko really came through for us in this episode. I really wish they could have fought, but you know, that's neither here nor there. I think Ranko did well. Yame wasn't really in this episode too much. Rather, she was just kind of observing the events that were going on with Junichi. We did see her at lunch with Junichi. Yame at the end of the episode says that she has confidence in Junichi and she isn't worried. As viewers, we can kind of assume that is a lie. We can kind of assume that she is saying that for her own sake because she does want to believe that. But given the ending and given Yame's character so far, we can assume that she is a bit insecure about what goes on with Junichi in particular. We can assume that she does care about his opinion to a degree. If not, she wholeheartedly cares about his opinion. So her being happy at the end, you know, it's a feel-good moment. Let's see, next character to talk about. I guess the trio, the lolicon, the glasses, and the one guy. Again, they were competent in this episode. I especially liked what Glasses was coming up with, and I especially liked that he was the one. You know, it was funny when he was having his remembering meter, and then we got the follow-up on that, and we got to see that, yeah, okay, he remembered, he can do this, and he made it very entertaining. I very much enjoyed it. On the ecchi aspects of the episode, well, it continues the general pattern that the girls themselves, the real girls, are not providing the perverted moments. They're not providing, you know, the panty shots and all of those aren't coming from the girls themselves. They're coming from Junichi's imagination. Again, this is a pretty interesting distinction to have for this show because, you know, we go into this episode and we started off with Junichi looking through streamers and he just wants to learn more about these girls. He has this image of the girls and that image is the one that's always played in Junichi's head. So we see it in the cafe shop with Boa. And you know what? I don't know her other name. I forget it, but I like Boa, so I'm just going to keep calling her Boa. But he plays that through that scene in his head of her like coming on to him. And that's not really what happens. Although you could imagine that Boa, it has the potential to do that. It's still in his head. So at the end of the day, like this series is continuing the theme of images and what you think people are. That's clearly going to be the theme that this show is going to go for. It's going to go for a route where it says like, you know, they look like this, but they might have a few more feelings behind that, the layer of makeup or the layer of glamorous. Which, you know, in terms of whether or not it's been done before, it's been done before. We've never had a series, however, that focuses on that as the main theme. So, you know, appreciate it. I appreciate it when it shows up. Let's see, anything else to really say about this episode? Okay, actually, interestingly, this was the last manga chapter that I read. When I first started this series, I read the most recent chapters, and this one was towards the end of the current chapters that were currently released. And it's odd that they played it so early on in the series. I remember in the chapter, however, Junichi's words at the end had a bit more weight to it because at that point in the chapters, they had more build-up. So it's just very interesting that the adaptation chose to make that episode happen earlier. This isn't irregular. This isn't irregular with shows that have a 12 episode run. It happens quite often. The last show I remember that really had it happening in terms of chapters being adapted outside of order was Interviews with Monster Girls, I think. That's the last one that I remember had the adaptation coming out of order. But here, you know, it's good because it establishes a character, but I do feel kind of slighted because I think the weight that the manga chapters had worked up to, it was more satisfying of a payoff. That said, as an episode, as an entertainment value kind of metric, this thing did pretty well. I really enjoyed it. I think this is the funniest episode so far, and I'm pretty excited to see more. But anyway, guys, that's pretty much it for me. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you thought down below, and let's end it there. Yeah, cool. Thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, I hope you have a great day.